2020. The best year ever. Okay, not. When I do my math and my factoring, I drink some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It's delicious. They're a sponsor. Okay, they're not. Ha! But if you know somebody at Dunkin' Donuts and you want to get me a sponsor, that'd be great. Otherwise, we're just here to do math. Unit 0, factoring fun. It's one of the F words you're allowed to use in math. Factoring, fun, fractions. That's it. There might be one more. We'll think about it some later. Anyway, we're going to do some factoring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend approximately, I'm going to do the first, I don't know, maybe 15 of these. And then I'm going to ask you to work on some tonight on your own and try to do the best you can. So I want to get started, but before I get started, I got to ask you a couple of questions. Let me just ask you a couple of basic questions. Little number theory kinds of things. Do you know how to add, what you can do to add, what kinds of numbers you can add to make sure that you have an even number? Did you know that an even plus an even will always be even? 6 plus 8, 10 plus 8, 10 plus 2, 10 plus 6, whatever. An even plus an even is always going to be even. Did you know that? What about an odd plus an odd? Would you think that's going to be odd or even? What do you think? Got to think about it, don't you? You probably haven't thought about it before. Let's see. 5 plus 7, 12. 3 plus 5, 8. 9 plus 1, 10. Oh. If I add up two odds, I get an even. So if I add two evens, I get even. If I add two odds, I get even. What happens how the heck then is there any way to add up two numbers and get an odd? And yeah, of course, that would just have to be an even plus an odd. We're going to talk about why that's important in just a minute. So this idea that when you add two numbers together, if they're both even or both odd, I'll always get an even. But in order to get an odd number, I'm going to need an odd and an even. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about for the first little bit here, and we're going to do it with some really, really, really simple examples. Try not to rush ahead and try to think about what I'm teaching you. Instead of just thinking about what the answer is, see if you can get something a little extra, okay? So what we have here is a trinomial, 3 terms, and we're going to factor that into the product of 2 binomials, okay? Binomial just means 2 terms. All right, so the beginning part's always easy. The 2 things at the beginning of the parentheses have to multiply to x squared. So that means x times x. That's step 1. We look there. Then we want to look at this number. And I need to find 2 numbers that multiply to equal 3. Well, there's really only one way to multiply to 3. 1 times 3. That gives me 3. Now, because this is a positive, they have to add to get to the middle number. Oh, well, 1 plus 3 adds up to 4, so that's pretty easy. Yeah, this is a pretty simple example. We know these 2 numbers have to be 1 and 3. Now, are they going to be negatives or are they going to be positives? Well, that's where this number comes into play, positive 4. These 2 numbers have to add to give me that. Now, if they were both negative, they would add to give me negative 4. If they're both positive, they add to give me positive 4. And notice we have 2 odd numbers and they add to positive 4, an even number. All right, let's keep playing. We're going to do a few I know this is probably, for some of you, this is really simple. For some of you, it's like, okay, I haven't seen that before. Let's take a look at this trinomial. Now, again, the beginnings are pretty easy. They just have to multiply to y squared. Y times y. Now we need two numbers that multiply to 5. Well, there's only one way to multiply to 5 because it's prime. I can either have 1 times 5, or I can call this positive 1 and positive 5, or negative 1 and negative 5. They multiply to 5. They both multiply to positive 5. The positive tells you the signs are going to be the same. They're either both going to be negative or they're both going to be positive. So I know this is going to be 1 and 5. I just don't know. Are they going to be negative or are they going to be positive? And this will tell us what they're going to be. Oh, I need positive 6. Oh, okay. I need a positive 1 and a positive 5. Now, for those of you that haven't double distributed or foiled a set of parentheses before, you'll remember to double distribute, you multiply the y times both of these. So I get y squared plus 5y. And then you're going to multiply the 1 times both of these. Oh yeah, double distributing, haven't seen this in a while. 1 times y is 1y, and then 1 times 5 is plus 5. Well, I can combine these two terms to make 6y. And you'll notice I get back my original. So we've just transformed a trinomial into a product of two binomials. And I was just checking it. You don't have to do that. So let's take a look at another problem. I want you to slide over to number 12 real quick. I don't know why I got these out of order somehow, but there it is, number 12. So we're going to find the product of two binomials, w and w. So they have to multiply to 6. Now there's actually two ways to multiply to 6. 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. Both of these are an odd and an even, so that means they will add up to an odd. Now, because this sign is positive, that means they have to add to give me the middle term. So if I add 1 and 6, do I get 5? Yes, I know. If you subtract them, you get 5. But that's not what I said. I said, when you add them, do you give you 5? You do not, so those can't be it. How about 2 and 3? When I add 2 plus 3, do I get 5? Oh yeah, 2 and 3. Are they going to be negative or are they going to be positive? Remember, they have to add up to negative 5. What does positive 2 and positive 3 add up to? Oh, those add up to positive 5. We need negative 5. So they have to be negative because negative 2 and negative 3 make negative 5. All right. Now let's go take a look at what would happen if we have, I used to be able to, oops, I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. Man, whatever. So let's go back over here to question number 4. All right, so question number 4 does not have a positive here. It has a negative here. So that means whatever two numbers you pick have to subtract to give me that number. Not add to give me that number. They have to subtract to give me that number. So let's start with two binomials. We know it's got to be y and y. Now, I need two numbers that multiply to 90 that when I subtract them, they give me 1. All right. Now, I can do this. I'm going to write these all down, and some of you I'm going to annoy like crazy, but I'm going to write these all down. 1 times 90 is 90. But when I subtract them, I get 89. Totally useless. 2 times 45 gives me 90. But when I subtract those, I get 43. Remember, I want 1, not 89, not 43. I want 1. 3 times 30 equals 90. But when I subtract those, I get 27. Totally useless. 4 doesn't go in. 5 times 18. When I subtract those, I get 13. Not there yet. 6 times 15. Probably didn't know that one. When I subtract those, I get 9. Too much, too much. Okay. 7 doesn't go in. 8 doesn't go in. Oh, 9 goes in. 9 times 10. When you subtract those, you get, I get 1. That's the one I want. I want two numbers that when I subtract them, they give me 1. 9 and 10. Now the question is, here's the question. Do I want a positive 9 and a negative 10? Or do I want a negative 9 and a positive 10? Well, you have to ask yourselves, they need to add up to positive 1. So if I take a negative 9 and a positive 10 and I put them together, they give me positive 1. So there's my answer. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Oh, and by the way, did you notice this number in the middle was tiny? It was just a 1. If you have two things that have to subtract to give you 1, don't the two numbers have to be like right next to each other? 3 and 4, 4 and 5, 5 and 6, 6 and 7. They have to be right next to each other in order to subtract to give you 1. All right, I need a coffee break, and I need to pause my video for just a second. I'll be right back. If I drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee, I don't make mistakes when I factor. Ooh, man, that was a killer commercial. Man, they should pay me millions for that. Whatever. Anyway, let's get back to factoring. Here we go. We got A's this time. We got A and A. Now, because this number is a negative, I need two numbers that are going to multiply to 42, negative 42. And when I subtract them, because it's negative, I don't care about this sign. It's the sign. When I subtract them, they have to give me 1. Now, again, I could go through this. Now, this is odd number, and this is an even. So I know I need an odd and an even. So 1 and 42 would work, but they don't subtract. 2 and 21, they don't subtract. 3 and 14, they don't subtract to give me 1. And I know you're all screaming at the top of your lungs, it's 6 and 7, it's 6 and 7. Okay, great, because 6 times 7 is 42. And when I subtract 6 and 7, 7 minus 6 is 1. Now, again, we have to ask ourselves, is it going to be negative 6 and positive 7? Or is it going to be positive 6 and negative 7? When I put these two numbers together, I need negative 1. So if I put a positive 6 and a negative 7 together, they give me negative 1. All right, so that's when the number in the middle is tiny. What happens when the number in the middle is pretty big? So when the number in the middle is tiny, then the two numbers are going to be right next to each other. In the last two cases, the number in the middle was 1, so it had to be, the numbers had to be right next to each other. What happens when the number in the middle is 12? So we got B's this time. Hate B's. B and B. So I need two numbers that when I multiply them give me 45. But when I subtract them, I get 12. So I need two numbers that are 12 away from each other. They need to be separated by 12, because that's what the minus at the end is telling you. You need two numbers that are going to be separated by 12, and they both have to be odd or they both have to be even. You can't have it one way or the other. So I can do, again, you could go through these if you want. 1 and 45, those are 44 away from each other. 3 goes in 15 times. Again, you need the ones that are 12 away from each other, 5 and 9. So which one of these are 12 away from each other? I hope it's pretty obvious to you that 3 and 15 are 12 away from each other. Okay, so we got the numbers right. But it's not just important enough to get the numbers right. You have to get the signs right. So I want, when you put together this 3 and this 15, we need a positive 12. Oh, well, the only way I'm going to get a positive 12 is if this one's positive and this one's negative, because positive 15 and negative 3 make positive 12. Okay, let's take a look at the next number. Let's go down to 8. Let's go down to 8. So in this case, again, we've got a negative, so I know that they're going to subtract to give me 2. So I don't want them 12 away from each other. I want them 2 away from each other. Not 1 away from each other. I want them 2 away from each other. So I need two numbers that are 2 away from each other. And that's only true because this is a negative. So I need two numbers that are 2 away from each other. All right. So I think you guys are getting better at this. J and j. If you want to, you can pause it for a second. But I knew two numbers. Do you think it's going to be 1 and 63? They're not 2 away from each other. 3 and 21? They're not 3 away from each other. And all of you, some of you are just screaming out, it's 7 and 9. It's 7 and 9. And some of you are like, 7 times 9 is 63? Yeah, 7 times 9 is 63. Okay. So they need to subtract to give me -2. So I need the larger of these two to be negative. That's it. That's factoring. Let's go take a look at 12. 12 is a little tricky, or 11. 11 is a little tricky. At least it looks a little tricky. Let's go back to number 11. So number 11, oh, wait, we're back to a positive. Notice this is a positive. So that means we're going to add to get to 15. So remember, add to give me 15. So if the number here at the end is a negative, we're going to subtract to get the middle number. If the number at the end is positive, we're going to add to get to the middle. All right. So I need two numbers that when I add them together, oh, I should have W and W. Oh, didn't notice that, W and W. When I add them together, I get to 15. So you can do 1 and 36, they add to 37. I can get 2 and 18, but wait a second, that's two evens. I need an odd and an even. So that's not going to work. 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Wait, 6 and 6 is even and even. Can't work. 4 and 9, 3 and 12, those are odds and evens. So which one of these add to give me 15? Oh, 3 and 12. So I know this has to be 3 and this has to be 12. Now, it's positive 15, so I need a positive and a positive. So whenever this number at the end is positive, you should be happy. They got to add to the middle, and then this will tell you what the sign is. Whenever it's a negative, it's always a little bit more tricky. All right, let's go to the next page. I want to go down to 17. So we're going to go to the next page. I'm just kind of bouncing around. Your job will be to get through as many as you can through 30, but I want you to skip this center column. Don't do that. Just skip this. Don't do any of these from 21 down the middle. Don't do any of those ones down the middle. So 21 to 25, don't do those. And we're on 17. Okay. So, ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I'm glad I picked this one. So I turn this binomial or trinomial into two binomials. We got K's, best letter in the alphabet. K, Mr. Krause. So I know that I need two numbers that when I subtract them, they're going to give me 16. Now 16 is a big number. Remember, we need to subtract. Remember, whatever that sign is, that's what we're going to do. I know they have to multiply to 36. But whatever those two numbers are, they have to subtract to give me 16. In other words, they have to be 16 away from each other. 16 away, not 1 away from each other, not 2 away from each other, 16 away from each other. So do you think you're going to use 4 and 9 or 6 and 6? No. 16 away from each other. I'm going to use more like 1 and 36. Well, those aren't 16 away from each other. 2 and 18. Oh, 2 and 18 are 16 away from each other. In other words, when you subtract them, you get 16. And notice how they're both even so that we come up with an even answer. They both have to be even so we come up with an even answer. So I know it's 2 and 18. Now, since this is a positive 18, the larger one has to be positive and the smaller one has to be negative. Again, if this is positive, the signs are either both going to be positive or both going to be negative, and then whatever this sign is. But when it's negative, you got a little bit more work to do. All right, let's take a look at 18 is a little tricky too. Ooh. All right, 18. So, this is a great problem. I love this problem. This is another one. Gee, I love this problem. Okay, notice this is a plus. Whenever that's a plus, you should have put a smile on your face. Because that means that the two numbers have to both be positive or both be negative. If it's negative, one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So they both have to be positive or both have to be negative. And they will be whatever that is. So they're both going to be negative. So I need two numbers, and remember, we're looking for two numbers that are going to add to give me 15. They're going to multiply to give me 56. That's just guaranteed. But they got to add up to give me 15. So I can do 1 and 56. Those don't add up. 2 and 28, those don't add up. And some of you are screaming at the top of your lungs, it's 7 times 8. Oh yeah, 7 and 8. Not only that, this wouldn't work because this is odd, one has to be odd, one has to be even. All right, this next one's pretty tricky. We're going to use n's. N. Now, two numbers that multiply to 54, but because it's negative, they have to subtract. In other words, they got to be really far away from each other, like really, really far away from each other. 25 is a huge number. They got to be really far away from each other. So don't be trying 9 and 6 or whatever numbers are. They got to be far away from each other. So 1 and 54 are really far away from each other, but when you subtract, you don't get 25. And then you try 2 and 27. Wait, 2 and 27. Yeah, when I subtract those, I get 25. So 2 and 27. Now, because this is a negative here, I want the larger of these two numbers to be negative. So when I add up positive 2 and negative 27, I get negative 25. All right, I got 2 left. And these two are easy. Now we're going to go back to some easy problems, really easy problems. I'm going over here to 27. So, P and P. Now, if you look at these numbers, not this one, but if you look at 27, 28, 29, and 30, they are all incredibly simple and similar questions. And you're going to see that in a minute. It has to do with this number right here. 81 is a perfect square. 121 is a perfect square. 144 is a perfect square. 225, you may not know it, is a perfect square. In other words, that's 15 times 15, that's 12 times 12, that's 11 times 11, and that's 9 times 9. Now, why am I telling you that? Well, I need two numbers that are going to add, well, they're going to multiply to give me this, but they're going to add to give me 18. So I could painstakingly go through and do 1 and 81, 2 doesn't go in, 3, and I think it's 27, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. And then you're going to go, oh, 9 times 9. Oh, wait, that's a perfect square, 9 times 9. Isn't 9 plus 9 18? Oh, 9 and 9. Now, because this is a plus, the signs are going to be the same. They're either both going to be positive or they're both going to be negative. In this case, they're both going to be positive because we want to add up to a positive 19. But this answer isn't good enough. I don't like this answer. I'd rather you write it like this. P plus 9 squared. Let me do one more of these. And these next four are all done the same way. Oh, 121. That's a perfect square. Isn't 121 really 11 times 11? And what is 11 plus 11? So V and V, 11 and 11, both plus. Because 11 times 11 is 21, or is 121, and 11 plus 11 is positive 22. But I don't want to write it like that. I want to write V plus 11 squared. So your homework is to get through as many as you can through 30. If you go past 30, because you're one of those kids that likes to do everything on your own, if you go past 30, I will take the packet from you, and I'll make you do it again. So don't go past 30. Don't be Mr. Johnny Achiever, Janie Achiever. Just don't go past 30, okay? So you can do as many as you can. The trick is by next Friday, all 75 have to be done. So we're getting through them. And they're going to get harder, so don't wait. Practice, okay? And I'll have the key up soon. All right, kids. Good luck. Catch you on the flip side. Bye. Oh, and drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee. No, you're too young. Don't do that.